Are you a first or second generation college student that wants to attend college debt free? Or perhaps you're a college student looking for paid internship opportunities because you know that internships lead to jobs. Today on the New College Perspective, we have the outreach director for the United Negro College Fund. Yes, UNCF is in the house today. UNCF has provided funding to help over 500,000 students attend college. In fact, UNCF is the largest provider of financial assistance to students of color in the country, guys, second only to the federal government. And we know how important that is, especially in this day and age. New to my channel, hi, I'm Jerica, and I love helping students succeed in college. So grab your coffee or your tea, click subscribe, and I'll see you on the other side. I want to introduce you guys to the Miss Mary Williams, the outreach director for the United Negro College Fund. For the past 24 years, she has worked to dethrone the loan. Her efforts to help students are nationally recognized with numerous awards, one being the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Service Award from President Barack Obama. So we already know she has the credentials. I am beyond honored, Ms. Williams, to have you on the New College Perspective for a conversation with our listeners about how the United Negro College Fund can help with scholarships and internships.
Well, first of all, it is a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm excited. When I think about my background, I had my mom and dad and grew up in just a wonderful family loving
Hmm.
community. And I always start with that because that's really a part of who I am. They shared their love with me. And now I'm in a career where I can share with others. I went to Bucknell University. I majored in psychology and sociology double major. And when I went into college, I thought I was going to be a social worker. I said, you know what? I want to be a social worker. And then one summer, I interned at a place where they had social workers. And I looked at the salary and I knew you had to go on for more so a doctorate degree.
Hmm.
And I said, I am not going to be a social worker. I said,
Exactly. No.
and I was like, "Well, I don't think that's what I'm going to be." But I continued with a double major of psychology and sociology, and I can tell you it has served me well. So, a
Hmm.
piece of advice that I would share is, you know what? Whatever you are majoring in, whatever you are
Hmm.
interested in, you wanna focus on. And
Hmm.
it's the key skill sets that you are learning throughout college that
Hmm.
are gonna be really critical and that are gonna
Hmm.
carry you through.
You guys are known for the phrase, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And when I was even researching and stuff like that, I was like, wow, like that phrase has been around my life for my entire life. And you guys have commercials with like Colin Powell, Michael Jackson, Maya Angelou, Michael Jordan, and so many more celebrities. But that was like, in the 80s, early 2000s for some of those commercials. For our current student audience, what is the United Negro College Fund? Why should it matter? Why does it matter to them? What services does UNCF offer? And tell us a little bit more about your role.
UNCF has been around for 80 years. And yes, our motto is a mind is a terrible thing to waste, but also a wonderful thing to invest in. And that's the add to where we are right now because we want people to invest in the young students that you are talking to all the time. Invest in their education, and that's what UNCF does. We have almost 400 scholarships that we offer on an annual basis. That's inclusive of scholarships and paid internship opportunities. So when you look at our site, if you were to go to our site, opportunities.uncf.org right now, you'll say, well, Miss Mary, I only see about 30, 40. But you go back and the next 2 weeks, you're gonna see more. So throughout the year, we are adding opportunities. I have the pleasure in my role of working with the community and students to really learn about the scholarships that we have and the paid internships and to give them some key tips.
UNCF is like, it seems like should be a part of your life. Like it's not just like a touch point. It's for any time you're thinking about career or school, you should be looking at UNCF and not just like, okay, I used it one time, but no, go back as many times as you can to see what opportunities pop up.
Exactly. You know, it should be I tell students Every 2 weeks, you should make sure you are
What?
going through the site.
Okay.
Every 2 weeks, go through the site,
Wow.
look and see if there are opportunities for you. And,
Mm-hmm.
I always hear, "Yes, I went on the site, I didn't see anything for me."
Mm-hmm.
How often did you go? Did you
Mm-hmm.
really look at the requirements? Because
Mm-hmm.
here's a key tip for students too. When they're
Mm,
looking for scholarships, whether it's on UNCF or anywhere
mm-hmm.
else, make sure you look at the eligibility criteria because
Mm.
there are often scholarships that have no majors associated with it. So if somebody
Oh.
says to me, and I get this question all the time, I am
Mm-hmm.
majoring in XYZ. I'm majoring in
Mm-hmm.
kinesiology. I'm majoring in this. I'm majoring in psychology, but I don't see anything. Really? Did you look for the one that had no majors as well? So it's
Yes.
important to make sure that you look at the eligibility criteria to find yourself in that scholarship so you
Yes.
don't miss any opportunities. So UNCF is the place every 2 weeks online, checking for the opportunities and apply for everything you're eligible for.
Yes. No, I like this. It's like leave no stone unturned. You're like, okay, I'm coming
Exactly.
back. Go look at this stone. Okay, let's look at it in this angle when it hits the light this way. Can I can I apply
Exactly,
to
because, it'll
can
pop
I-
up, and the key thing is you wanna make sure you don't miss deadlines. So, if you're
Exactly.
checking regularly and you'll say, "Okay, now I found 4 scholarships that I'm going to
Hmm.
apply for," then you can put that in your schedule on when you're gonna
Yes.
complete those
Hmm.
opportunities so you don't miss the deadline. Because, Jerica, you said this in one of the introductions, our goal is
Hmm.
to dethrone the loan.
Yes, yes, ma'am. That's a perfect segue into talking about scholarships and internships. So let's start with scholarships. So, according to the education data in 2024, student loan debt in the United States, Miss Mary, totals $1.773 trillion, trillion with a T. And a really huge part of making sure our students do not become part of that number is to receive scholarships. Can you share scholarships that the United Negro College Fund offers, criteria, and then how they can apply?
The first step is to go to
Okay.
opportunities.uncf.org. Yes, you are on the site. So when you go to opportunities.uncf.org and you see where it says log in and register, if this is your first time, you want to make sure you do that first. Can you scroll down?
Okay.
Now, of course, you can scroll down on the site before you
Mhm.
hit that. Scroll down and you can start seeing a list of scholarships. You see, it says click here to see all scholarships. So you can click there and you can look at all the scholarships that we have,
This
all the
one.
pages. Yes, you can do that. But really, what I want to make sure that you're going to do is that you are going to register. And that's
Mm.
where on the top it says log on and register. When you
Let
do
me go.
that, you will create a profile right there. You'll create a profile and it says need to register. You'll do that. You'll enter your username that you'll create. You register as an applicant and you just go through the process. It takes you about 10 to 15 minutes. That's it. We're
Mm.
asking you for your contact information. We're asking for your education background. So if you're a high school student, you're going to put that, I'm a high school senior attending this school. You're going to give us that
Mhm.
information and your GPA. If you're a college student, you're going to enter the information about your college, what you're majoring in, what your GPA is, because all of those will serve as filters for programs that you're eligible for. Once you create that profile, now here's the key. You want to update it every year. The only thing you need to do
Oh,
is update your classification because we have some scholarships that are for students that are freshmen in college, some high school seniors,
okay.
some for all classification in college, and some for graduate students. So
Mm.
your profile needs to be up to date. And you just need
Okay.
to go in and say, I was a freshman when I started. I am now sophomore. And if your GPA
Mm.
changed and if your major changed, that's all you have to do. And the
Okay.
great thing about it is the information in your profile will automatically populate when you determine which scholarship you're going to apply for. So you don't need to recreate that. And you know what, Jerica? Here's a key
Hmm.
tip about the profile, too. And
Yeah.
a lot of times students don't really consider it. In the profile, there are only certain required fields, but
Mhm.
there is an opportunity, if you choose, to list your accomplishments. Accomplishments include leadership opportunities, jobs that you've had, your honors and awards,
Mm.
your community
Mhm.
service. Now, you don't have to put that in your profile because often when you're applying to scholarships, you're going to complete that section.
Mhm.
But here's a key tip: if you put it in your profile, you only have to do it once and you can just update it. And when you start applying to scholarships,
Mhm.
you can say, I want to upload it into the application. It's going to save you time. And plus,
Ah.
it gives you time just to sit back and think about, like, what leadership
Mhm.
activities do I have? And that
Mhm.
seems to be the hardest question for students to answer. But if I had a conversation with a student for about 10, 15 minutes, we can pull it
Mhm.
out very quickly. Leadership is
Yeah.
not just being an officer in an organization, although that is leadership
Mm.
as well.
Mhm.
But they may support their professor by helping to manage a project. That's
Yes.
leadership.
Mhm.
They can create their own leadership opportunities as well.
Yes. Yes.
So their leadership activities they're going to list. They're going to list their accomplishments. Maybe they had perfect attendance if they're in high school. Maybe they received an award
Mhm.
for honor, being in the honor society.
Mhm.
Maybe they're in college, they're on the dean's list, so they're going to document that. And then if they have any summer jobs, they can list that. But that accomplishment section, they can also do in their profile. And it's going to save time when it comes to
Mhm.
applying for applications because they already have it. And then they can just upload it into the application and choose which ones they want to upload and then continue to the
Mm.
rest of the application. So we're talking now about, look, I'm ready. I need
Yes.
scholarships. What am I
Mhm.
going to do?
Mhm.
I'm going to go to
Mhm.
opportunities.uncf.org. My first
Yes.
step is going to be to register. We talked with you about how you register. And then
Yes.
once you
Yes.
register, then you will start applying. You need to look for the opportunities that you are eligible for. And the good thing is, once you go to a scholarship, and you start applying, it may pop up that you're ineligible. And you're going to say, wait a minute, why am I ineligible?
Mhm. Mhm.
It may be that that particular opportunity is looking for students who are sophomores in college and you're a freshman. And so they have looked
Mm.
at your profile. So you don't have
Mhm.
to waste the time to do that. And then you
Mhm.
look for other opportunities that you meet the criteria for. Bottom line, apply for everything you're eligible for.
Yes, yes. No, this is really good. And I want to actually talk a little bit about creating your own leadership because I think that's not discussed a lot. When I am coaching and mentoring students, I come across the same thing that you come across, Miss Mary, with like students say, I don't have any leadership. I'm not the head of this org or the head of that org. And we talk about like creating your own leadership opportunities. Can you share a little bit more about that part? Because I think students listening would really benefit from that advice on if you are not the president over organization, how do you start creating your own leadership opportunities in college?
Well, it's very interesting because I went to a school. Now you can do this in
Hmm.
college. I'm gonna give you a high school example, and
Hmm.
then this could be translated to anywhere. And then we'll give a college example. I was visiting a high school and talking to students, and they said, you know what, I'm in a rural area. There's not a lot of opportunities for me
Hmm.
to get into leadership. I said, well, just talk to me about what you do,
Hmm.
a typical week. And they said, we have a lacrosse team. It's not very good. But what we started doing is when new students come in, we invited them to practice with us. And they
Hmm.
became interested in lacrosse. And then they
Hmm.
started joining the team. And
Hmm.
I said, that's leadership.
Exactly.
That is leadership.
That is leadership.
Yes, exactly. And from
Hmm.
when you're in college, oftentimes you're we working with your peers. Maybe
Hmm.
someone is challenged in a class that you're doing very well in.
Hmm.
And you say, come on, study with me. I
Hmm.
can help you. I can tutor you in this.
Hmm.
It may not be a formal tutoring process, but
Hmm.
that's leadership.
Yes.
That's a
Yes.
way to create leadership. You
Mhm.
may decide, I really want to do something fun. I want to start doing
Mhm.
some activities.
Mhm.
And you get a group together to say, hey, let's meet once a week to work out. You have just
That's
created
it.
a group and an opportunity for more students.
Mhm.
That's leadership. So just think out of the
Yes.
box. Think about things that you
Mhm.
enjoy and you want to do.
Hmm.
And the key is to continue to document those on a regular basis so you don't forget.
Mm. Mhm.
And I got to tell you, as a parent, when your child is in high school or in college,
Mhm.
have those conversations together because as a parent, you may remember more things than they do.
Yes.
I
You're like,
tell
"Wait,
you,
weren't you doing that the other week?" Like, "Oh, wait,
exactly, exactly. And you know what? When my son was in high
yes."
school, I started documenting his activities. We would sit down together and we did a worksheet, and we listed his honors and awards, his community service, his leadership activities.
Hmm.
And in his sophomore year, he played basketball in high school. I
Mhm.
looked, I said, you know what? You don't have a lot of community service. You're going to need that for college.
Mhm.
So it really showed the gap. So we started doing more community service. He did, but
Oh.
we did as a family too. So we would sometimes on the holidays go to shelters and help to feed the
Mhm.
homeless. And we made sure that we were doing things together. And then his coach was doing things with the team to community service activities.
Hmm.
But we documented all those things. Parents, even when your students in college, you can say, "Oh, I had that conversation with you. You told me that
Mhm.
you just received this award, or you were just leading a group in."
Yes.
So talk together as a family.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that helps individuals to
Mhm.
document all the great things they're doing. Because I am so impressed by many of the students I meet,
Yes.
just to talk with them and to see what
Mhm.
they're doing in the community, just to learn their interest. So
Yes.
the future is bright.
I think this is so good. I mean, on the show we love like tangible advice and this is perfect. But I like this whole thing of marking down what honors, what awards, what things are your students doing if you're a parent talking to your students, but if you're a student yourself reflecting. And this one thing actually that popped into my mind is like a question students can ask themselves, which might be, how am I helping others? How am I helping others? And that response, those different ways that you're helping others, there might be some leadership opportunities or things that you're doing leadership wise.
Mhm.
Instead of you just racking your brain, just ask yourself, how am I helping others? Yeah.
I think that's a great way. What a great segue into
Mm-hmm.
thinking about your leadership activities. And then
Mm-hmm.
just think about what you did in the last 2 weeks, because
Yes.
when you look at your activities that you've
yes.
done in the last few weeks and you
Mm-hmm.
say, "Okay, that is leadership."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I do
Yes.
help with my siblings, or when I go home on spring break,
Mm-hmm.
I talk to them about, here's what college life is like.
Mm-hmm.
I do
Mm-hmm.
go to my faith-based organization when I'm home,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I share information about what I'm learning with those who are not
Yes.
yet in college. Leadership activity.
Yes.
So think
Yes.
about
Yes.
everything you do and
Mm-hmm.
document that. Now, I can tell
Yes.
you, I documented because I knew I wasn't going to remember everything, and I knew my
yes.
son wasn't going to remember everything. So that's why we started documenting. He graduated, in 2012 from Morehouse College.
Whoop, whoop.
One of the things he did, and this serves as an example of leadership,
Mm-hmm.
is when he was in college, too many of his friends were dropping out because they didn't have the funds. And what
Hmm.
happens when you're in college is if you don't put a process in place to start applying to
Yes.
get this free money, scholarships,
Mm-hmm.
free
Mm-hmm.
money on
Free.
an
FREE.
ongoing basis, when it comes to register for your classes and they look at that bill, they'll say,
Mm-hmm.
can't register yet. You
Mm-hmm.
have to pay this. Too many of his friends were in that situation.
Hmm.
So what he did was he said, meet me in the library, bring your laptop. And they
Hmm.
all start applying to different scholarships together. He started a 501(c)(3) when he was in
Oh,
college
wow.
to help others apply to
Wow.
scholarships. Now he did that. I just learned that after having a conversation with him. He did it on his own. And I said, "You did what?"
Wow.
He said, "Mom,
Mhm.
too many people were leaving
Mm.
college, and I wanted to do something." And here's
Yes.
another interesting thing that happened. I don't know how often it happens now, and I'm in the scholarship industry, so I
Yes.
continue to learn. He applied for a scholarship. Not only did he receive that scholarship, but the organization reached out to him because he talked about what he was doing, how he
Mhm.
was helping others.
Mhm.
And they said, "We're going to give you X amount of funds to be distributed to other students to help them."
Wow.
So, what my son did
Wow.
is because he was at Morehouse, he
Mhm.
went to the financial aid person at Morehouse, the one at Spelman, and one at Clark because they're all in a
Mm.
university center.
Mhm.
And he
Exactly.
said, "Identify a student who is always reaching out and looking for funds and applying for
Mm.
opportunities, because
Mm.
this is the individual I'm gonna ask you to identify to get these funds."
Hmm.
Another tip, when you're in
Mhm.
college, you need to make sure that you are visiting the financial aid office on
Yes.
an ongoing
Yes.
basis.
Yes.
Make an
Yes.
appointment first,
Mhm.
and then when you see that financial aid person walking across campus,
Mhm.
this is what you do. "Hi, Miss So and so. It's Mary Williams. How you doing?"
Yes.
And you say your whole name. Now your friends
Yes.
are gonna crack up. They're gonna laugh at you. "What are
Your
you
full
doing?"
government name.
Whenever you see them,
Mhm.
"How you doing, Miss what this is Mary
Yes.
Williams, just want to say
Mhm.
hello." And you're gonna say your name every time because
Mhm.
companies and organizations like ourselves at UNCF, we're
Mhm.
reaching out to financial aid officers on campuses across the country.
Oh,
And we're
wow.
asking them to identify students who meet the criteria for particular opportunities. You want to
Hmm.
be in that position where,
Yes.
yes, you're going to be looking on UNCF,
Mhm.
but you want to be in a position where financial aid knows that
Mhm.
you, Mary Williams, is
Yes.
looking for funds,
Yes.
and I'm going to send this over to Mary Williams.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
another tip, when you're in college, you need your network, and part of your network is gonna be financial aid. Make an appointment,
Yes.
and then when you see them going across campus, you see them in a cafeteria, you can just say your whole name and
Your
let
whole government
everybody
name.
else and let everybody else laugh at you and say, "What are you doing?" And then,
Yes.
"Hey, wait a minute," as you are gonna be dethroned the loan,
Yes.
applying for
Yes.
opportunities, so and that's the key thing is you're
Yes.
gonna look everywhere for scholarships.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. No, I love this. It's like, take it to the next step. Like every Christmas, give them a card or, you start, just those simple things
I
that
love
make
it.
you stand out, stand out. You want to be in that number. When the number is called, they're like, yes, Jared Killabar or Miss Mary Williams, like, oh, this is the person I want to give this opportunity to. So this makes me
Yeah,
so excited just to see like how scholarships can really transform people's lives, and just make a huge difference. And it's not something that's one and done. What we're really having in this conversation, this wonderful dialogue, is just like you have to keep going at it. And if you can't do it yourself, or you're just like, I don't, maybe it's just really hard for my to do it alone. Grab your friends, like your son did. Grab your friends. You guys all go to the library and say, you know what? Once a week, we're all going to sit down and figure out what scholarships we can apply to, what resources we can apply to, so you don't have to do it alone. So, I think this is also a good segue to talk a little bit about when do you recommend students start applying for these scholarship opportunities on the website, UNCF's website. Is there a timeline to be considered for most of the opportunities? I know you're saying like they're added all the time, but is it like maybe March has the most or the summer has the most? Or can you talk a little bit about that? Any thoughts you have on those two questions?
yes. So for scholarships on opportunities.uncf.org,
Hmm.
individuals who are high school seniors through graduate students can apply.
Okay.
So those who are not yet high school seniors, you can still create a profile and register, but you
Hmm.
can actually start applying to those scholarships as a high school senior, and they really vary. It's throughout the year. We have a lot of our high school scholarships in the spring. There are
Okay.
several open now, but we had some that were open in the fall too. So you
Okay.
really do need to check on a regular basis. I say that because I don't want you to miss any opportunity on
Mhm.
UNCF. And
Mhm.
again,
Mhm.
you're
Mhm.
looking everywhere. So if they're a
Mhm.
high school student, they're going to make sure that if they're getting this list of scholarships from their high school, they're not sleeping on it. Don't sleep
Mhm.
on $100 book award
Mhm.
because it
Mhm.
all
Exactly.
adds up.
Mhm.
Your bank, if your parents belong to a bank,
Yes.
ask the bank if they have a
Mhm.
scholarship. If your parent belongs
Mhm.
to a credit union, ask
Mhm.
if they have. Divine Nine, all of the
Yes.
sororities and fraternities. And
Mhm.
yes, some sororities give scholarships to males as well as females. And some
Yes.
fraternities give scholarships to females as well as
Mhm.
males. Your faith based organizations in your community.
Yes.
I want you to dethrone the loan. That's why I'm mentioning a host of different opportunities.
Mhm.
You want to
Mhm.
look everywhere for this free money so that you can
Yes.
graduate with little or no debt. Because you know what that does? When you dethrone the loan, when
Mhm.
you graduate, you can make so many more choices. You can choose the career that you want, that you're interested in. Or you may have to say, oh, this job pays more money. I need to go there. Of course, we all want the money. We know that. But you want to be happy in what you do. You want to grow in what you do. You want to be able to make those decisions that are best for you and your interest. So apply to everything and look for those other opportunities as well. So your
Yes.
question to me was, when do you go on UNCF site? Is there a particular time? It is year
Mhm.
round. Yes, they're more for
Okay.
high school seniors in the spring, but college students, they're coming up all throughout the year. And
Oh,
don't
wow.
get discouraged. That's the
Mhm.
one thing. Don't get discouraged. Make sure you check. Make sure you're checking on a regular basis. And here's the key thing: beat the deadline.
Let's talk about that. Yes.
Beat the deadline.
Beat it.
Because if you call and say, "Oh, I saw this, but I didn't get to finish it before the
Mhm.
deadline,"
Yeah.
what do you think the answer to that is? Look for the next one. So beat
Mhm.
the deadline. And sometimes scholarships will require you to have a recommender. A
Hmm.
recommender can be anyone other than a family member. So
Okay.
can't reach out to auntie and uncle to help you with that one.
Mhm.
But sometimes there are no parameters around who that recommender can be, except not being a relative.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you don't always have to go to the one professor in your college because some students will say
Yes.
they're busy. They can't do a recommendation for me. So who do you seek out? You build a network of people who can write recommendations. It
Mhm.
may be a mentor that you have. It may be a
Mhm.
tutor. It may
Mhm.
be an employer. It may be someone from faith-based organizations that you're a part
Yes.
of when you go home. Uh,
Mhm.
it could be a former employer. So just
Yes.
build a network of individuals who can also serve as recommenders for you if you need those for your scholarships and your paid internship opportunities. So, and here's another key, especially juniors,
Mhm.
they can register. And one thing that we're going to be doing as our outreach team, I have
Mhm.
such a fabulous team. Angelica and
Yes.
Kari, three of us
Yes.
work together to do outreach to individuals like yourself to make
Mhm.
sure you're aware of the opportunities.
Yes.
We have a program that's going to be opening in October, and it's only for certain
Mm.
states, and it'll be
Okay.
for high school seniors. We're going to go into our database and reach out to those juniors in those states to say,
Mm.
okay, you're going to want to make sure that you update your profile and apply for this opportunity.
Mm.
We're reaching out now to those particular states, to the counselors to say, have your students register on UNCF. Because if they're
Mm.
registered, we can say, okay, they're registered as a junior. It allows
Mhm.
us to reach out to them and say, you registered as a junior, you are probably a high school senior now. If
Mhm.
so, update your profile with your new
Yes.
classification as a high school senior
Mhm.
and consider applying to this opportunity that is renewable for 4 years. So,
Wow.
it's so exciting to be able to share information for students. So if
Yes.
you're in high school, you can complete your profile and just
Yes.
make sure you update it each year. Especially if
Yes.
you're a junior in high school, you want to make sure that's done. Now, while at UNCF, they can start applying as high school seniors. They can look elsewhere for scholarships while they're
Mhm.
in high school. Sometimes
Mhm.
there are community service scholarships that are there and available in the community.
Mm.
So, you are online Googling students all the
Yes.
time, whether you're a college student or a high school student.
Yes.
One of the things you need to be Googling for is
Mhm.
scholarships for whatever
Yes.
your interest is.
Yes. No, I think this is really good. And I would love for you to share with us two scholarship opportunities you guys have going right now so that students can see like, okay, this is the level of scholarships that are available on UNCF's site.
Well, let me give you an example. The STEM scholarship, this one's for high school seniors. Those two are for high school students. So STEM,
Okay.
if a person is interested in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics,
Mhm.
for this particular STEM scholarship, they can use it at any accredited college or university of their choice. It's up to
Ooh.
$25,000, $5,000 a year, and
Wow.
then
Wow.
$5,000 that they can use for internship in their junior or senior year. And
Wow.
it has wraparound support services. It has tutors.
Mm.
So students who are part of the STEM program, and Jerica, this is so exciting.
Yes.
What we learned is that sometimes students are on campus and they don't feel as comfortable going in and being a part of tutoring sessions. They're part of the STEM program, they have access to tutors. There is a Best Buy scholarship for students who are really focusing on the health field. This is for incoming freshmen to high school seniors, and it's for specific states. So this is for individuals who are kinda in the Northeast area that are going to be going to school there. And then for college students, oh my goodness, there are so many opportunities that are on our site if you are a college student now. So you go, you look at all the eligibility criteria, and you apply. They vary by classification.
Another question. So before we got on the show, I got some questions from students, and one question that I got was like, okay, if I get the scholarship funds, can it only be used for expenses for tuition, or are there other expenses that it can be used for, such as like room and board, food?
That's a great question because when you apply to scholarships at UNCF, they are
Hmm.
used toward your education, which includes tuition, room and board, fees,
Oh,
books, everything that's included in the cost of attendance.
okay.
Um, we have some scholarships that are need-based scholarships. And let me
Okay.
just kind of talk about that a little bit because sometimes people will look and say, "Oh, it's need-based. I'm not eligible." Don't take yourself out of the running. Let me talk with you about how we consider need-based. We look at the total cost of attendance. So let's say it costs 50,000 to attend an institution, less your student aid index. And the student aid index is derived of when you complete your FAFSA, your free application for student aid, which you do have to do every year you're in college. High school seniors, you start it, and you must do that every year. So, what I'm talking about now is what is unmet need. What's the definition? Total cost of attendance, $50,000, less your student aid index. Just to make the math easy for me, let's say it's 5,000. And so that's an unmet need of $45,000. And it's less any other free grant aid. So let's say you had $5,000 in other scholarships you received. So now you have an unmet need of $40,000 in this example. So that's how we determine the unmet need. And it's important to understand that because when you do, more people are going to be applying for those need-based
Yes.
scholarships as well.
Yes. Yes,
And
yes.
we do have merit scholarships available now.
So the last part of the scholarship section, because remember, guys, we're going to be talking about scholarships and internships. What are the three tips you find most helpful when students are applying to UNCF scholarships?
So the 3 tips. 1
Mhm.
is when a scholarship application says that a section is optional, don't sell yourself short. An example of that are accomplishments. Sometimes the accomplishment section is optional, but if you have it, and remember earlier in this show, we gave you some tips on how you can be poised because you're going to have it in your profile and you can just upload it. If it's optional, but you have the information, enter it. Tip 1, you don't want to sell yourself short. The second tip about applying for opportunities on UNCF is there is always a contact person, a contact email address that you can reach out to if you have questions. So when you go onto our site and you're looking at the program, it'll have an email address. So if you have questions, use that email address. You're not alone. People are there to support you and to answer your questions. So keep that. And the great tip is keep it even when the application closes. Because if you have a question afterwards, you want to say, okay, I'm waiting to hear back. And typically is 6 to 8 weeks before you're going to hear back. And then sometimes it's going to be more and they'll have that posted. And you say, well, it's getting close to that. I wonder. Then you have the contact email address. So keep that. The third and most important I talked about already, you are in control of making sure your application is in. On the UNCF site, once you create a profile, you will have a student landing page. So you can look at that student landing page and you can see the status of your applications. Oftentimes, I talk with students and say, I'm applying to so many scholarships, but I'm not getting them. And I say, oh, pull up your landing page. Let's look together. Incomplete, incomplete, incomplete. If you haven't completed, you have not applied. I'm gonna repeat that. If you have not completed, you have not applied. 3 key things to keep in mind about applying to scholarships.
Yes. No, this is woo. I love it. Like, and I just love how hands on you are. Just like, okay, let's pull it up. Let's look at it together. And it's like incomplete. Sometimes you have to go back and review and make sure you're following all parts of the application process or the prompt. I mean, I read scholarships for some organizations and why some students are not getting scholarships. And one common thing we saw this past application round was they're not answering the question fully all the parts of the question. It's just so frustrating. It's like, man, you guys, you had it, but you didn't finish it. So it seems like it's also showing up here where it's an incomplete, you didn't finish it. So I think those three tips are really great. And so now that students have applied to the UNCF scholarships and started to dethrone the loan, and they are attending college debt free, the number one thing students need to be doing while they are there in college is to start applying for internships.
Mhm.
So this statistic that when students intern, 70% of students receive a job offer from that same company and 80% of students take it. So basically, if you receive an internship, you have a 70% chance that the job that or the internship that you're in, that employer is actually going to offer you a job. And 80% of students actually take that offer. If you're trying to graduate employed, you need to be interning as often and as early as possible. So, Miss Mary, can you talk with us a little bit about the internship opportunities that the United Negro College Fund has and the process to apply, if it's similar to the scholarship process or if it's a little bit different?
Actually, it's very similar because you're gonna
Okay.
go on the same site once you register, you already have a
Okay.
profile, so hopefully you did
Yes.
that while we were talking because it only took you
Yes.
15 minutes or less. You have a
Yes.
profile, so you just go on and you apply to those paid internships, and they vary. They vary based
Okay.
on eligibility criteria as well. We have a student professional development team at UNCF that is just
Mm.
awesome, and they work to bring in many internships for students. They host a leadership conference so
Oh,
that some
wow.
of the paid internships also provide opportunities for the students to attend the Student
Oh.
Professional Development Leadership Conference. Not all of them, but some do. And at
Oh,
that
wow.
conference, they learn how to be a great intern. They talk with them about things
Yes.
you need to do. They are a support for those students
Yes.
who participate, and they continue to follow them once they are out of that internship. So the
Wow.
process is the same. You complete the application, but here's the piece.
Mhm.
You typically have to make sure you upload a resume. And that's a
Okay.
topic in itself.
Yes, exactly.
Your resume is a topic in itself. You want to make
Mhm.
sure that your resume has your contact information. Now, if you change
Okay.
your email, change your resume.
Yes.
So
Yes.
don't let someone reach out to the email address on your resume and it doesn't work.
Mhm. Mhm.
Put your expected graduation year on there. A
Okay.
lot of companies are asking for that. They want to
Mhm.
know what's their graduation year. So
Mhm.
make
Mhm.
sure that is on your resume, something you may
Yes.
not think about.
Mhm.
Highlight your skill sets because
Okay.
you want individuals at that internship to see that you fit in that role, which means you
Mhm.
probably have to have multiple resumes. You need to
Mhm.
look at what the criteria are and
Okay.
make sure that your resume is highlighting that particular skill set that can be
Mhm.
utilized at that internship. And look for everything. I mean, we have so
Yes.
many different opportunities you wouldn't even think about, publishing
Yes.
companies. And you said,
Oh,
I wouldn't even think
wow.
about a publishing company. But boy, do they have a lot of opportunities there. And
Yes.
on our site, we have a career general application. It's called a career general
Oh,
application that
okay.
every college student should complete. The
Okay.
way it works is our student professional development team uses
Yeah.
that to see the majors that students are in. There may be some paid internship opportunities they have that are not
Okay.
posted because it's like
Mhm.
one or two, but they go
Mhm.
into that application, identify individuals, and reach out to them for those particular paid internship opportunities. Very easy
Okay.
to fill out. They also use it to be able to talk to companies to say, there are students that are majoring in XYZ,
Mhm.
and there
Mhm.
are a host of individuals in the database that are interested in this. Do you have opportunities? Let us
Wow.
work with you to be able to
Wow.
push out this paid internship opportunity. So when it comes to
Okay.
internships, typically for us, it's sophomore year and above when they
Okay.
can apply
Mhm.
for paid internships. Again, you want to make sure you meet the eligibility criteria.
Mhm.
Two, you want to make sure that your resume is tight, that your
Yes.
resume has the appropriate contact information, highlight your skill sets, is inclusive of your expected graduation year.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mary, for sharing all of that about the internships and UNCF's internships, UNCF scholarship. And normally we go straight into the lightning round, but I actually want to pause and talk about two things: UNCF's monthly community webinars and then the Empower Me tour, because I think both of these um, events that UNCF puts on is just super important for our listeners to hear about. So, first, can you talk about what is the UNCF's monthly community webinars? How do they even start? How can our listeners get on a call? What happens? I know it's a magical time because I've been on them personally a couple of times, but can you share that magic with our listeners today?
So for the community webinars are monthly. It is an opportunity to share some of the UNCF scholarships and paid internships are available. We have so many I couldn't share them all, but we do
Yes.
highlight some. You get
Mm-hmm.
to ask us questions about anything, about scholarships, about applying, about I'm not getting
Yeah.
scholarships, what do I do?
Yes.
We
Mm-hmm.
highlight several scholarship opportunities. We share with you the eligibility criteria, whether you are a parent, a student, a representative from an
Yes.
institution, a community leader. We are there for you. And then we give you the deck so you have it and you can apply for those
Yes.
opportunities. So, whether you are
Yes.
a high school student, a college student, a graduate
Mm-hmm.
student, a representative of an institution, a community leader, you want to join
Mhm.
us. The second Tuesday of
Hmm.
every month. Last one for the academic year is the second Tuesday in April, and we start again in September from 6 to 7 Eastern Standard Time.
The first time I was on it, actually, um, my husband was by, and he's a Morehouse grad, and I was just like, "This is amazing! What is the? Why have I never knew? Like, it is just so beautiful to see everybody coming together. Like you said, it's parents, it's students, it's university representatives, all on the call, and you're just sharing. Here are scholarship opportunities that are available right now. Here are internship opportunities that are available right now, and then students are very comfortable just asking questions, and you are
Mhm.
so kind just answering them, you and your team. How long have you been doing this for? That was one of the questions I actually had
3
in my mind,
years.
like
It's just
3
something I
years.
created. I'm always brainstorming.
What? It's
I
so amazing.
brainstorm, what can I do differently? And so I started doing it 3 years ago, and now it's
Mhm.
grown to over 3,000 followers, an average of about
Wow.
245, participants, and here's the key thing, if you are on live, you get the
Mhm.
deck the next day. If you're registered, you still
Yes.
get the deck, but you get it next week, the next week
Mhm.
afterwards. So we want you on live because we want your questions. We want you to hear directly. And what's really wonderful are the testimonials. I mean, we
Hmm.
don't even ask for them, but just hearing people say, yes, guess what? I've got scholarships. There have been parents
Mhm.
that said, oh, guess what? My kids graduated debt free. They got scholarships at UNCF. Uh, it
Wow.
is so rewarding.
Mhm.
But what's so important is giving information because we all know information's power.
Yes, yes, yes. So we want people to get out there, and you can see on the, it's going to be on your screen how you can register for this. And as Miss Mary said, like if you register and you attend, you actually get all of the scholarships, internships the next day. So you can apply right away versus those that, maybe weren't able to attend, they get it the following week. So now the UNCF Empower Me Tour. Can you share with our listeners what is that, and then how can they participate?
The Empower Me Tour is awesome. My colleague Stacy Lee leads that effort
Okay.
over the events team. And what they do is they go to different communities and
Hmm.
they invite school districts to bring their students to a location which they've secured, and they
Mhm.
have representatives from HBCUs that are in attendance,
Mm.
often giving students an opportunity to apply and be accepted on site, often
Oh,
giving scholarships on site. They typically have
wow.
opportunities for students to apply and win scholarships on site. They have different
Wow.
workshops available for students, and the Empower Me
Ooh.
Tour has put together to help individuals learn about historically Black colleges and universities, meet
Mhm.
with some of those institutions, learn about things they need to do to be successful to go
Mhm.
to and through college. They are awesome. So they're just putting their plan together for next year. And on our
Okay.
UNCF site, uncf.org, once their plan is
Mhm.
together, they will post where the Empower Me tours are held.
Yes, I cannot wait. When I saw these two things, I was like, okay, I know we normally go into the lightning round, but I need to take some time to make sure people hear about these two
Yes.
opportunities because they are game changers. It's not just, it's like you guys are coming to us.
Yes.
You're saying, let me come to you and show you how to do that, making it really easy. Okay, so as we're landing the plane, we always love here on the New College Perspective to do a lightning round of questions. And these are questions that have come in from our listeners. And so if that's cool with you, I can get started. Okay,
Absolutely.
awesome. First question that we got from a student. If my school is not a member of the UNCF member institutions, should I bother even applying? What are your thoughts on that one?
If you attend any accredited college or university, you need to apply on
Okay.
UNCF. Now, I mentioned real quick that there are some scholarships that are for just individuals that are attending the UNCF member
Mhm.
institutions. There are some for students attending any accredited college or university, whether it be a 4-year or 2-year.
Okay. Second question. Beyond financial assistance, what other resources or support does UNCF provide to its scholarship recipients, such as mentorship or networking opportunities?
For some scholarships, such as the STEM scholarship, they have mentors as a part of their
Hmm.
program. They have tutoring as a part of their
Hmm.
program. They have health and wellness opportunities as a part of their program. Fidelity Scholars Program is another one we have.
Oh,
They have a college success coach
okay.
that works with them all 4 years of their academic year, and they have mentors. But it varies by program.
Okay.
Some programs have additional resources,
Mm.
and some are just straight scholarship.
What is the timeline for the application review process, and when can I expect to hear a decision?
Typically, it's 6 to 8 weeks after the
Okay.
deadline, before you're going to hear a decision. Some are longer and some have it on the site that it's going to take X amount of
Okay.
time. There's always a email address of an individual, so when you apply, take that email address, so if that time comes and maybe it's taking a little longer, you can reach out to them to determine. 2 quick things. There is a UNCF general application on our site. Now, that application is only for those attending the UNCF 37 member
Okay. Okay.
institutions. So, if you are attending one of the 37 member institutions, you fill out that general application. The general application, you don't hear back unless you receive a scholarship through it. So, that's one of the differences.
Okay.
The other thing is we talked about the early career talent general
Mhm.
application that anybody can fill out. Now that is a pool. So you don't hear back unless there's an opportunity that they have to share with you.
Okay.
But all the other programs, you're typically going to hear back between 6 to 8 weeks after the deadline.
Okay. We talked a little bit about recommendations. What specific qualities should I have my recommenders highlight when they're writing my recommendation for these scholarships?
Often, there are key questions that are asked of the recommender. So when you're applying for a scholarship, look at the eligibility criteria. If there is a separate form that the recommender must complete, there are specific questions on that form. And typically there's a preview, so you can preview and see what they are. So they may vary by particular scholarship, what they're going to write about.
Mm,
Look at the preview yourself so you know. And here's
mm,
another key tip: when you have a recommender, make sure you are giving them your resume or profile or something else about you that
mhm.
they have to help them write a strong
Okay.
recommendation. And lastly, around recommenders, please, as soon as you know you are applying to an opportunity that requires a recommender, reach out to them, ask them to serve in that role, give them the deadline, beat the deadline so that they can get it done. Because it's important. Don't wait till you finish and then it's due the next day and reach out to a recommender.
Exact. And then if I encounter technical difficulties with the online application pool portal, who should I contact?
You can reach out to
Okay.
UNCF, scholarships at
Okay.
uncf.org, and we have team members that will answer those questions.
And the final question we have is, why should students apply to the UNCF scholarship and internship opportunities? Why should students apply?
Students should apply to UNCF scholarships and paid internship opportunities because this is a way to help you to go to and through college
Mm,
successfully by one, helping you to dethrone the loan because you need
mhm,
money to go to college and you can't go through college without those funds. Two, for internships, you need internships to help prepare you for your
yes.
career. And those paid internships help you determine maybe what you want to do and maybe
Yes.
what you don't
Yes.
want to do. So that when you graduate, you're poised to go into the position. And Jerica talked with you about some of the
Yes.
stats that if you have a paid
Yes.
internship, you are really poised to go into a
Yes.
career. Many of those individuals are provided full
Yes.
time
Yes.
positions. So opportunities.uncf.org.
Yes.
Log on, create a profile, visit us on an ongoing basis so that we can help you to go to and through college.
Yes. Yes. So great. You like I feel like you have indeed given us a new perspective on scholarships and internships. You have given us just a wealth of knowledge, taken some time out of your day to just to love on us. I just feel so loved. Like our students, I know can definitely feel it from you, just the love and the care, all of those years of experience just poured out to us here at the New College Perspective. And so, students, you guys already know what you need to go out there and do. You need to go out there and apply. And Ms. Williams, we talked a little bit about if students are like, well, this opportunity isn't for me. What do you suggest students do if they're just like, okay, I've heard all of this and there's nothing for me right now at the moment? What should they be doing with the information?
Oh, thank you for that. 2 things. 1, if that particular opportunity is not for you or you don't see anything that week, you wait and you go back the next few
Yes.
weeks. But just as importantly, we are a village.
Yes.
So if you see opportunities and you know, oh, I have this friend that's majoring in that
Hmm.
particular field, you share it with someone
Yes.
else. So if it's not for you, you make sure you are sharing it with others. Information is
Yes.
power. We are a
Yes.
village. And the more we come together to help one another, the more successful all of us will be.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Miss Mary, for coming on the New College Perspective. Thank you for sharing all of the insight on how students can dethrone the loan and how we are a village and we are out here trying to make sure that we don't have any loans and we have as many paid internships, as you mentioned, opportunities available. So, as always, to our audience, I want you guys to be kind to yourself because the world needs who you were made to be. See you guys on the next episode. Bye, Miss Mary.
Thank you.